Imagine this. You're a pirate and get caught by the captors of yourself. You're tied at the wrists, the crew powerless, and you know the consequences that lie in store for you. The captain comes and looks at you and sentences you to worse than death. What does it take? The golden era of piracy, the late 1600s and early 1700s, wasn't a period of swashbuckling adventure and treasure maps. It was vicious, callous, and murderous. And if the pirates transgressed the rules, or got caught transgressing them, penalties were made as agonizing, degrading, and terrifying as they possibly could be. Some of them were so horrific that they still send shivers down our spines today. Let us take a look at the horrors of piracy, the vilest penalties inflicted on the pirates. First, we employ the cruelest of discipline methods, keelhauling. Here is how it goes. You're roped with heavy rope and dumped over the side of the ship. You don't drown. Nope. You're dragged underneath the ship, sliding down the weathered, barnacle-encrusted side of it. The harder surfaces rip at the skin, cutting 1,000 times with 1,000 knives. The harder and the longer they keep dragging you, the harder the need burns in the lungs to get air. If you're good enough, you drown quickly enough. Otherwise, they haul you spluttering and take you underneath a second time. The pain is unimaginable, and if you do die, you're torn and bleeding and possibly infected. The salt water seals the wound and kills the pain with it, and if you get through the experience of it at least, you might not get through it at all. This wasn't a penalty, it was a warning to any that might be witnessing it. Then there was marooning. Pirates had a code, and breaching it sent a message clear enough: abandonment. You'd be marooned on an island with no companions except a bottle of water and a pistol with a charge of powder in it. What was the option? Starve yourself to the bone, drive yourself mad, and take the easy option. The fortunate few got rescued. The rest of them spent the last of their days withering slowly in the scalding sun with no provisions, shelter, and no rescue in sight. One of the greatest stories of marooning was Alexander Selkirk, a real-life marooned mariner who spent 4 years surviving on fish, wild goats, and anything that came his way. He actually spawned the legend of Robinson Crusoe. The rest of them weren't so fortunate. The island wasn't a battle of survival. It was a painful and languid execution. All right, on with the notorious pirate penalty. Walking the plank. Here's the sinister side of the legend. It didn't really happen that often. While there are accounts of prisoners marching against the execution of a drowning death at the hands of the pirates, the majority had harsher or more practical ways of dealing with them. But if it did occur, it was a prolonged psychological torture. Tied to a small wooden plank, you knew with each step you were that close to the line of execution. You miss a heartbeat, and muscles get weak, and the open sea lies in front of you. Swords pricked into the small of the back, and dark blue inkiness. In front of you, no rescue ship. The moment your foot stumbles, cold water claps tight over you whole. You're not a good swimmer. You drown quickly. You're a good swimmer. Well, pirates weren't exactly known for choosing buddy seas. Sharks trailed ships, and the moment you touched the surface of the sea, you felt the scrape of metal against the side of the leg. Before you drowned good and true. For those that ended up in the hands of the authorities, public and speedy death followed. The site of greatest terror, execution dock in London. Pirates were hung with short ropes that didn't immediately kill them. They strangulated instead, twisting in pain for agonizing minutes at a time, with gapers gaping aghast at the spectacle. The rope constricted at the nape of the neck, the color draining from the face and turning it a ghastly blue. And they kicked futilely for air they never received. And that wasn't the half of it. Their corpses were typically tarred and hung in cages along the River Thames, a ghastly rotting warning to any who had dreamed of a life of piracy. The stench and the spectacle, it was meant to send sailors' nightmares shivering eternally thenceforth. One of the greatest known victims of execution dock was private pirate turned infamous scoundrel Captain William Kidd, executed in 1701. The rope the executioners had initially used had broken with the force of his weight, so they hung him twice. There was no mercy. Pirates feared not the gallows, but the lash as well. The cat-o'-nine-tails was a filthy whip with 1,000 knots of strands that flayed muscles away from the bone. The first lash burns. The second bites harder and tears at the muscles. The 10th is a pure pain. The 50th, repeated rending and stripping of muscles becomes a routine. One lash would be enough to slit them enough. Yet fear crept in once lashes reached hundreds and 200s and 300 lashes. Others got killed. Those that weren't carried the scars the rest of the life they had left, a constant reminder of the captain's anger. Even old-timers blanched and howled at the touch of it. The wood they rode slick with the life of them. Their backs were rented to an unfamiliar wreckage, and if infection catches them, they were fortunate enough to see another sunrise. For the worst of the worst, however, there wasn't a speedy hanging. They had the gift of one of the most horrific punishments during the course of humanity, drawing and quartering. They hung them, yet didn't murder them, merely left them with air in them. They slit the bellies of the hanging humans, and entrails tore them out of them, with them still having air within them. They shrieked throughout the streets while the executioners taunted them, and dragged the agony out. They tore the hanging humans limb from limb, set the hacked heads atop stakes, and set them throughout the streets as horrific warning beacons. This wasn't a penalty, it was a warning. Disobey the law, and get torn limb from limb. One such notorious pirate that had this example done unto them was the notorious Captain Charles Vane, a cold-blooded and notorious buccaneer. He got caught and executed in 1721. His obstinacy had paid the price handsomely. There's the ugly truth. Pirates weren't criminals. They were state enemies. The government made the penalty so horrific that no one would ever willingly be one anymore. Yet with the fear that had been instilled, it never actually ended. Pirates changed, they mutated, and they persist in the farthest corners of the world. Even nowadays, the shadow of such consequences adheres to the past. Even the legend of the pirate has been romanticized. Movies glorify them as rogue heroes. Yet the life of a pirate was brief-lived, brutal, and ended in torture a majority of the times. So why did the pirates take the risk? Greed, freedom, desperation, or a combination of the lot? Whatever it was, this we know. Being a pirate wasn't the swashbuckling experience Hollywood has us believe it was. It was a bitter, short, and perilous life, and the real proving ground came not from combat, but from survival. And for the ill-fated few caught, the price paid in the blood of the innocent. But what do you guys take on this? Do you guys take it for the promise of wealth and freedom? Or the price of the pirate life was just too great? Let us know in the comments below. Love hearing from you and hearing about the past. If you enjoyed this peek at the corruption of the life of the pirates, don't forget to tap the red dot and also enable the red dot so that you never miss a video of the world's greatest and gory tales. And before we depart, we just thought we'd take a brief moment. This channel wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. The amazing world of historians, history enthusiasts, and inquisitive thinkers who keep coming back for more. Whatever it is that has you here, whether the excitement, the knowledge, or the plain interest in the things that I've been. Gratitude we send your direction. Your shares, comments, and energy keep us motivated, and we're thrilled at the prospect of bringing you yet further tales of the darkest of history's crevices and cracks. Thanks once more for watching, and we'll be with you in the next video.